Illinois is a very busy state right now. Next month, you will see the Democratic National Convention there. Obviously, we know about the migrant crisis. But to add insult to injury, we have a police shooting that resulted in the death of Sonya Massey. This has caused so many different political debates among the spectrum, with conservatives saying one thing and liberals saying the other. But one thing is for sure, Black Chicago remains strong. It took the fight to the streets with a protest in great numbers to show the world that this tragedy was wrong.
It's been 3 weeks since Sonya Massey was shot and killed by a now former Illinois deputy. Demonstrators now demanding Congress to take action.
We don't get no justice!
They don't get no peace!
Cries for police reform.
No justice!
No peace!
We're not asking for justice. We're demanding justice.
Spilling out of Federal Plaza in downtown Chicago.
At any moment before Sonya was shot, he could have intervened against the real threat, Officer Grayson.
As dozens gathered for a Justice for Sonya Massey rally after the mother of two was shot and killed by a downstate deputy earlier this month. Demonstrators coming together demanding Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, a bill that aims to combat police misconduct, excessive force, and racial bias in law enforcement.
We just out here trying to hear the voices of the community so we can push back to stop the killings.
Police crimes is a long-standing issue in the Black community, and this is a really egregious manifestation of that. What do you need help with?
Nothing. I just wanted to see if I could help me.
Sonya Massey calls the police because she feels there's an intruder in the home. Appearing at her residence is Mr. Sean Grayson and another officer. Now, they check around the premises. Nothing is funny there. They then come inside of the premises and we know what happens next. After Sonya Massey says, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," she's shot and killed. A lot of people on the right, especially some of your racial bigots, are saying that, hey, hot water is a threat. So she's trying to throw this hot water on this man, which I did not see that, okay? I don't know if you saw that, I didn't see it. But something that we must understand, could this have been avoided? This guy believes so.
Why would it hurt you? You called us.
You're watching police body-worn camera video of the deadly police shooting earlier this month. Sonya Massey called 911 to report a prowler outside of her home, and Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson and his partner showed up. You see them outside and then inside her house. Mistake one, according to University of Pittsburgh School of Law professor and use of force expert.
Never had to happen.
David Harris.
The whole encounter could have ended on the front porch.
Deputy Grayson eventually instructing Massey to check on the stove. He says they don't need a fire while there. That's when things take a turn. Massey turns off the stove and picks up a pot. Harris calls this the pivotal moment.
She simply says while she's holding this pot of water, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." This is not a threat. This is not a sign of danger. But this causes one of the deputies to pull his weapon.
Deputy Grayson, who raises his gun. Massey is seen apologizing and ducking for cover. That's when he shoots her. 3 shots are heard.
It just gives no basis for using force, and certainly not deadly force.
So this is a man that's saying the officer didn't even have to go inside of the residence. Now let's talk about that. She makes a call to the police. There is no intruder there. She's asking, can you please help me? The officer, all they need to do, okay, well, it seems clear here. Let me just go back and, you have a nice night, something like that. That's not what happens. You get all of these people saying that she deserves to be shot, but they should not have even come into the home at all. That's number one. But what is something else that Black Chicago knows? Well, Sonya Massey had a history of mental illness. Now, I won't play the clip, but you guys remember the clip. "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." It seems out of place to say something like that, out of context to say something like that. And the reason why somebody would say something like that is probably because they have a mental health issue. I've talked about that before on some of these videos. I felt that, hey, that's something that someone is suffering from. But here's the icing on the cake. Her son says, that these officers came out to her house the day before, both of them, and they knew that she was suffering with a mental health issue. They knew it. So you know that the lady is suffering from a mental health issue. How do we know this? Because Sonya Massey drove to St. John's Hospital for a mental health checkup. Her family says it's an issue she had been dealing with. Here's what her son says verbatim. I talked to 2 officers, and I believe it is the same officer that shot my mother. I talked to his partner first, and then the second officer. That's the one I think did it. She was driving herself to the hospital. They told me they would go there to help there, and then this happens. Now, let me talk about this. Dealing with people who have mental health issues is sometimes hard. I know some people that have parents that have Alzheimer's. I know some people that deal with folks who are depressed, who are bipolar. I get it. Mental health issues can be hard to deal with. But if somebody says, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, even if they are having a mental health issue, do you respond? Well, I'll shoot you in the face. Is that a response for a mental health issue? But here's something else that we don't know. Mr. Sean Grayson most likely has a mental health issue himself. How do we know? Look at his past employment record.
Records show the former deputy who shot Sonya Massey worked for multiple departments in the state of Illinois in just a handful of years. Senior investigative reporter Paula Vassan delves into how law enforcement officers in the state of Illinois are tracked. Paula.
Well, legal experts tell us the state of Illinois has something Missouri does not have, a way to search for police officers to check their work history. It shows former sheriff's deputy Sean Grayson worked for 6 different agencies in the state of Illinois in just 4 years. But the public website does not show the full picture, revealing hired and separation dates without explanation. State records show 30-year-old Grayson hopped around as a part-time officer at 3 small departments. He had a full-time job at a 4th department and worked at 2 sheriff's offices, all of his jobs in central Illinois. We've also discovered he had 2 misdemeanor DWI convictions in Sangamon County. The I-team is working to find out what's being done in the state to prevent officers with potentially bad track records from bouncing around. Industry sources tell us it's the responsibility of the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board to allow an officer to be hired somewhere else. The I-team has reached out to that board for an explanation into how Grayson kept getting hired. We're waiting to hear back. We've also discovered that in general, sovereign immunity in state law often prohibits negligent hiring cases against state entities like police departments. It means it can be easier for bad hires to slip through the cracks.
You see, this is a man with 2 DWIs, drunken while influenced, or in California, DUIs, driving under the influence, and he was allowed to become a police officer. You see, it's one thing for a person in society to have a mental health issue. It is very sad to have a police officer with a mental health issue, and also a police officer with a racist issue. Brother Tariq Nasheed pointed something out that I'd like to share with you today. Suspected white supremacist race soldier Sean Grayson, who racially executed Sonya Massey, has the Totenkopf tattoos on his arm, and these symbolisms are also associated with neo-Nazi white supremacist groups. Now let me just say this. If the man, even if he is a white supremacist, his job is to be a police officer. Somebody saying, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus should not be a death sentence, especially when white people brought Christianity to the black community. She's only saying what white people have told her. But the only issue that he have with that is, how dare you speak like that to me as a black woman? You need to know your place. It don't even matter that you have a mental health issue, because I'm the white man. You gonna learn today, because I'm gonna clear your mental health issue. I don't care how crazy you are. You should never get out of pocket with me, Mr. White Zaddy. How dare you even think, even fix your mind to challenge somebody like me? That is exactly what this guy did. That's what some of these racist conservatives want to deal with, right? And again, it's this kind of talk that deters a lot of black people for even wanting to vote for Republicans, because they won't call this out, all right? Here's what you got to understand. If the lady had a mental health issue, you don't take what she's saying as a remark seriously. Why? Because she's not herself. She's not herself. The police deal with people like this all the time. They deal with drunks, they deal with drug addicts, and people say crazy things. They deal with the homeless. They know that they're dealing with people who are intoxicated all the time, and these people are not acting like themselves. They know that. But when you hate black people, it don't matter. It's a reason to have a death sentence for a black lady who is completely defenseless and can't harm you at all. And shout out to Black Chicago for bringing light to this. And again, I know that people can be critical of Black Lives Matter. I sometimes am critical of them too. But in this case, I mean, I see why they have it. It makes sense, okay? It makes sense. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Jackson. Back at it again with another episode of King Ganda. I'm out.